Welcome to the Matrix Green Pill podcast, where we share the inspiring journeys of remarkable individuals overcoming adversity and making a difference in the world around them. I'm your host, Hilmarie Hutchison, and today's guest is a true warrior of resilience and transformation. Lang Martinez has battled addiction, homelessness, and trauma, emerging as a powerful advocate for the homeless and a beacon of hope for those still struggling. From the depths of Skid Row to standing as a symbol of redemption, Lang's story is one you won't want to miss. Lang, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's my honor. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever believe I would be interviewing in Dubai.
We're so happy to have you. Lang, your story is incredibly powerful. Can you start off by telling us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, my background is I'm a Los Angeles native. I was born and raised in Westchester, California. That's in the southern end by the beach area towards Lake Playa del Rey. So I grew up in a family where I had a stepbrother and stepsister. So I really never knew who I was until I was like 11 years old. And how I explain that is that my mom divorced my real father, and she married somebody else who was my father and that raised me. So I came from a broken family. The family that my stepfather had was a family of abusers and alcoholics. My stepfather never abused me, never abused my mother, but he came from that family. So it was quite strange for me being raised in that situation, not really knowing who I really was, but they knew who I was. So I took the brunt of punishments and being accused of things I didn't do growing up in a family like that. There was confusion that I was treated different. And then finally, knowing who I really was at the age of 11, through an alcoholic aunt, I found out that I was Hispanic and that my name wasn't Lang Huff. It was Lang Martinez. And a lot of things happened then. I sort of call it being in the phone booth. You're inside this phone booth and you're looking at the world on the outside and you really don't know who you are and you really don't feel like you're a part of anything. So there was brokenness from the very beginning in my life.
What a start in life. And I'll say I'm sorry to hear that you had such a difficult start in your life. That must be incredibly difficult as a small child to be raised in a broken family and feeling as if you don't know who you really are. Going on further in your life, you faced addiction, imprisonment, and homelessness. What were some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome during those years? Or did you want to talk a bit further about getting to that point before we get to that question?
Before we really got into the homelessness and addiction, there was a part of my life in high school also where I didn't feel like I was belong. I was basically the heavy-set kid. In high school, I didn't have the girlfriend, and I found a way to lose that weight. I ended up getting the girlfriend, and I ended up getting a job at a bicycle shop called Action Cycle, and I thought life was good, but it really wasn't because there's always the underlying feeling of the brokenness and not belonging. And I ended up getting a job at a mirror company in Inglewood, California, and my friends worked there, and they told me one day about this gentleman that had a glass cutting place and he did glass works. So I ended up quitting the bike shop and I ended up going there and working for this company. And little did I know that this gentleman was a predator. And that's a very big part of my story, as many. And there was a lot of us in high school who worked there. And this gentleman sold cocaine. Bisexual, he sold cocaine, and there was lots of young boys there. And individuals like that who were predators, they know what they're looking for. And he was looking for me, and he found me, and he asked me if I would like to learn the business of cocaine. And of course, it was an opportunity, leave home, and I'm going to be with this guy. Wasn't gay. I'm going to be with this guy. I'm going to sell cocaine. I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to meet these great people. And little did I know that eventually the things that he was doing to other young men, he eventually did that to me. And I think that's a lot that was really, as some say, the icing on the cake. Is he ended up actually sexually abusing me and raping me back in 1981.
Wow. And as you say, being a predator, he knew what he was looking for, somebody who already felt broken, felt like they didn't belong, not really sure who you were. Perfect victim for somebody like that to take advantage of. Wow, I'm really sorry you had to go through that.
Well, you know what? A lot of people say that they apologize and stuff like that. And where I'm really at now, members, where it's that I'm okay with it because I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the things that happened to my yesterdays. I can't regret the past. I can't make it as if it's the law. I need to take my past experiences, and they're the key for the life that I have today, if that makes sense.
Yes, that absolutely does. Those were the reasons, or those experiences is what made you stronger, gave you things to overcome, which you did, taught you to be resilient, to overcome those challenges. So then further on, you then started out with working for this predator, him teaching the life of being a drug dealer. What was next?
I was in a club in Hollywood. It was called the Odyssey. And there was a lot of, in the last few years, there's been a lot of attention in regards to that club. That's what we're doing as far as working on my story. I ended up getting away from that gentleman, and I ended up going somewhere to try to get the help that my family wanted me to get before I turned 18 years old. And once I turned 18 years old, I was back at home with mom and dad. Really, what happened to me, keeping it in the back of my mind is regression, because you really don't remember it. You don't want to remember it because you see the things going on around you that are so traumatic that you put it out of your mind. So the brokenness was really there. And there was really nothing that was going to fix it. A lot of individuals think that getting the girlfriend, getting the job, getting the car is going to make you okay. And that's a misconception. That's a very misconception, especially for individuals that are in jail, that are in prison. They all think that the job, the girl, the baby, they think all these things are going to fix it, but they're really not. The only thing that's really going to fix it is a true surrender to your higher power. And I choose that higher power to be my Lord and Savior, man.
That leads me to that question. You have faced, as you mentioned, you have faced addiction, you faced imprisonment, you faced homelessness. What was the turning point that made you decide to change your life?
My sobriety date is July 25th, 2018. So I'm coming up on 7 years of sobriety and 7 years since I've surrendered to somebody, believing it's somebody besides me, because I realized that legs way didn't work. And there's a saying here in America that sometimes going into your head by yourself is a bad neighborhood, and you really don't want to go there alone because it's a bad place. So the turning point for me was July 25th, 2018. I was in downtown Los Angeles in an area by Vernon and Western, and I was on the methamphetamine. I was on alcohol, and the situation was a bad neighborhood, and things that were going around me were people that were dying. There was prostitution, there was drug dealing, there was gangs, and I had a low heartbeat, and on a daily basis, I saw people that were on the streets that were dead. I saw chalk lines, there was helicopters, there was shooting, there was abuse. It was horrific. And I looked around the situation, and I knew if I would die, that nobody would say anything good about me. And my whole life, growing up as a kid, up to that point, all I ever wanted was just one person to say something good about me. And I knew that day that if I closed my eyes, that would never happen. And I made the decision, man, and we do it so many times when we're caught up in addiction or caught up in crime. You get in the back of the police car and you say, God, can you get me out of this one more time? I won't do this again, blah, blah, blah. But this time was different for me, man. This time I cried out to God. And I said, God, please, I'm begging you. If you save my life, I'll give it all back to you. At the very end, I said, I promise, God, please. That day was July 25th, 2018, and I ended up getting into a program in Los Angeles, California called Acton, man. That was the turning point.
Incredible. Having gone through so many experiences, as you said, to be that low and having asked so many times or thinking so many times to start over, finally, when you look to a higher power for the solution, is when you were able to change. But it was also that program that you entered that helped you make that transition.
Yeah. I ended up getting into that program, and I've had sobriety, numerous times. I had sobriety on the streets. I had sobriety in jail or sobriety in prison. And I've been to programs, but this time was really different because I really didn't want to die. And I think my God, my higher power, had something different for me. I think he wanted to use me for the work that I do today. So I was able to get a foundation in a program to learn how to live life on life's terms, because for 55 years, my way didn't work then. My way led to a road of destruction and destroying others.
Incredible. So once you made that transition, can I ask, how long was the program that you entered?
This program was 60 days. It started immediately. I mean, number one, the first thing that happened that day is I had to surrender. I had to surrender, and I had to be willing to go to any lengths to make this program work for me. I had to completely surrender and understand that what was going on inside my head was broken. It just wasn't working for me for 55 years. And I could look back at the destruction that I caused, the addiction, and where I was that day. And I knew that Lang's way didn't work. And I had to rely just not on my higher power, my God, but I had to rely on others. And I call those the angels that won't let me fall. I had to feel and I had to believe that there was a different way. And I had to take direction. I had to learn how to live life on life's terms. And I had to listen to others before me that have done this before that could help take me down that road of recovery.
That's incredible that after all those many years of addiction, of homelessness, of going through the cycles over and over again, this program in those 60 days totally transformed you. That is a remarkable story. I mean, many people have gone through many programs and then it doesn't take long once they're out and then they're back to doing what they were doing before. Now, I know you speak of the higher power. Was that relationship then powerful enough after 60 days to keep you from going back to the former ways that you had?
That higher power that we talk about, as I know we call God by a different name, but I call God my Lord and Savior. My Lord and Savior has never left me for those 55 years, and he hasn't left me today. Every day I surrender and I ask him and I thank him, my higher power, for the life that I have today. Each day I surrender and I ask to do his will, not Lang's will. Lang's way doesn't work, man. I know that.
Yeah, you found that out the hard way many times. So then when you finished the 60-day program, what did you do straight after when you were done with that?
Well, I went back. There was a gentleman who helped me out that had a credit business named Ron Freeman. And I ended up leaving there and going back to a place in Oxnard where I also was homeless. And I started working for a company called CreditWise, and I was soliciting credit repair for this gentleman. And one day, somebody who was part of the city, a guy named Abel Magana, came into the office, and he's mentioned about a 5-year plan for the homeless, and he recognized me. And he asked me if I would speak at council. And that was the first time that I made a presentation in regards to the situation of homelessness in Ventura, California.
So that is what got you on the path of starting to advocate for those who are homeless, who are living on the streets. How's your own lived experience shaped the way you approach that you're trying to help?
Passion and understanding, understanding what the individual's going through, the part that I've been there so I can relate. The understanding when I'm working with individuals is that I make it very clear that I'm no better than you are, and that basically I'm just one drug away from being where you're at now. And that I explain my story. I talk to them about how I got to where I am today.
What advice would you give to someone currently struggling with addiction and feeling hopeless about the future?
Everything is temporary, that today could be a new day. We can't change the past, that we don't have control of the future. The situation that they're in today or that I was in today, we could do something about it today. We need to let them know they're loved, they're valuable. And one of the biggest sayings is that take this one day at a time. It's the first step.
That's excellent advice. That's good. And that's from somebody who's been there, who understands what it is to take one day at a time. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about a documentary film that you're involved in that's to be released by the end of the year. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm working with a gentleman by the name of Chris Eckstein, and him and his wife, Stacy Eckstein, they own a production company, and they're in the business of entertainment. It's called Market Street Productions, and we ended up meeting each other actually at church, and we befriended each other, and he was aware of my story, and the more time that we spent together, the decision was made that we were going to make a documentary going back to that club in the 1980s, and basically bring the light to the darkness of a situation where there was a lot of things going on as far as brokenness. The club was a place that young individuals didn't find their identity, and they found their brokenness. The identity wasn't going to a club and finding your sexuality. And there was a lot of predators there, and a lot of children were hurt. So it's always been a dream of mine, and it's always been a goal of mine to bring the situation that happened to the light, to the public, to the audience.
That's fantastic. So this documentary will be partly, it's your story, it's going back, but it's also an opportunity to expose what was happening at that club during that time period. It's very brave to do that, to be part of a documentary film like this that's going to be telling your whole life story.
Yeah, the story of my life is nobody knows but me. God did. So the book that's coming out will be Nobody Knows But Me, God Did. And we think the documentary, well, we haven't decided yet. It'll be no longer a secret.
Excellent. So you are keeping very busy, working on a documentary film, working on a book. And as you said, the name of the book is going to be Nobody Knows But Me. And then the name of the film is going to be No Longer a Secret. Both should be done by the end of 2025, right?
Yes, ma'am. They'll be promoting the documentary and the book will follow. Yes, ma'am.
Incredible. Well done. I mean, that's amazing. 7 years sober, taking one day at a time, but also now using your strength to work with that are still struggling, that are still on the streets, still struggling with addiction, and then also taking the time to write a book and work on a documentary. It's absolutely incredible. You're doing fantastic. Today, you are thriving in your career, in your personal life. How do you stay grounded and continue to grow from your past experiences?
I'm very honored that you asked that question. And I think that's a big question for the audience for me to answer. I think in any situation, whether you're caught up in addiction, caught up in brokenness, you're having problems at home, right? You need to do life one day at a time. For me, I had to do this one day at a time. And there's a point that when you surrender, it's a lonely journey and you continue to work and you continue to do this one day at a time and trudge till you get the road of happy destiny. And we really don't know where that happy destiny is. In my case, what I did, and it took 6 years, is I had to stop and things would happen in my life. And I would say, well, I'm not happy here. Things just aren't going the way that they are. And I had to look back and gauge where I came from to where I'm at today. And then I realized how far that I've really come spiritually. And I had to be grateful for the life that I had. I continue to do this. And for me, my God put somebody in my life named Laura. And I met somebody that loves me for me, that understands my brokenness, somebody that's there for me. And I found somebody that does help me stay grounded. You know, I have lots of people in my life, and I call them God's angels that won't let me fall. There's a lot of people that have been involved in my life and helped teach me and help navigate me. And now I have somebody in my life, a companion that's there for me and is a partner. And she definitely helps me stay grounded because I could go off in tangents, man. I could go this way and that way. And she's definitely there to help me stay down.
I'm so happy to hear that. You absolutely deserve that. And it's fantastic to hear that you've got that support. You've got a wider support network, as you've mentioned before, your angels that support you. But to have that close person, to have Laura there to support you every day is a true blessing. And I'm really happy that you found her and that she found you. That is fantastic.
You know, there was a saying that there's actually a Bible verse that talks about going down the narrow path and then taking the wide path. Actually, it's difficult to take the narrow path because a lot of people choose the easy way. And, you know, there's very few that seek the true path to get to eternal life, which requires, it requires sacrifice and it requires dedication, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. There is no doubt taking the narrow path is the harder way, but it's the correct way. It's the right way to go.
Yes, ma'am.
So what's next for you, Lang? How do you plan to continue inspiring and helping others in the future?
I made a promise that I'd continue to give back to God for the life that He's given to me. And He's definitely given me a gift with a beautiful woman that I love with all my heart. Try to stay focused, try to stay humble, learn humility. You know, there's a saying here in America that ego is not your amigo. Ego is something that's definitely bad for me because when ego gets in the way of the drive to where you want to go in life, it's not a good thing. So having Laura in my life is definitely a good thing. So we plan on getting married in June, and I'll continue to do the work that I'm doing basically through my testimony, by being honored to be on your show, continue to tell people that there's hope for everyone.
Fantastic. Well done. You've come a long way. It's an absolutely inspiring story, what you've gone through, and that you're giving back, that you're using your strength now to help others is remarkable. Now we've come to the segment of our show where I'll ask you some rapid fire questions, our version of a game show. Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's one quote or mantra that keeps you going every day?
There is nothing more paralyzing than an attitude that things can never change. We need to remind ourselves that God can change things, but it's your outlook that determines your outcome. If you see only the problems, you will be defeated. But if you see the possibilities in our problems, we can have victory.
If you could give one piece of advice to a young person today, what would it be?
Don't rely on your own thinking. Find a mentor, take direction, stay on the path of right, and don't let somebody persuade you to do things that are wrong.
I love that. Find a mentor. I think it's good for young people to have somebody who can guide them, somebody older, not their own age, because oftentimes those kinds of mentors or friends are not always looking out for one's best interest. But to find a mentor that's older, I think that's excellent advice.
That works for the younger generation. That's the advice I get. For me, it's kind of funny because at 61 years old, a lot of my mentors are a lot younger than me. You have to realize, Ben, that in sobriety and recovery, you kind of regress in life. So coming up on 7 years old, sometimes I act like that 7-year-old. So I do have mentors in my life that are in their 20s and 30s, and I definitely take direction from them because they know a whole lot more than like Martinez does, because I'm still on that road of learning, if that makes sense.
I love that humility of yours, that we can all learn from somebody else. It doesn't matter our age. In one word, if you can, how would you describe your life today?
I'm free.
That's a good one. I'm free. What is one thing that you do every day, no matter how busy you get?
I should be doing it all day, but the one thing that I do every day is that I pray and I thank God for the life that I have today.
Well, thank you for playing along. That was easy enough. Now we get to our signature question. Could you share an inspiring or life-changing experience that you have gone through, your green pill moment?
I would have to say that I've had a few of those. My green pill moment was when I received a phone call from a mother in regards to her daughter that was named Tanya. And I met this young lady in a Jack-in-the-Box with a friend of mine, and she was caught up in addiction and abuse. And about a year later, I got a phone call from the mother telling me that her Tanya was doing good. She was in a program. She had a job, and the mother thanked me.
What an experience to have changed somebody's life like that, to have turned their life around completely from being low or being addicted to turning one's life around. To be part of the journey of someone like that is truly a gift. And it's fantastic that you're able to use your example, your experiences, your background to help other people to change their lives. In a way, helping them with their green pill moment, helping them to make it the right decision at the time to turn their own lives around. What a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And thank you for sharing your story, your humbleness and recognition of where you've come from, and that it wasn't all your own doing, that it's others looking to a higher power, looking to others to support you through this journey is what has made the difference for you. And you're a fantastic example to others who might be struggling with addiction or any other challenges. I'm looking forward to the documentary and also to your book. I'm sure that will also help many, many people. Lang, your story is truly inspiring. I'm so sure it will resonate with many of our listeners. Your journey from Skid Row to becoming an advocate and mentor is a testament to resilience and hope. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you for having me on the show. It was an honor. You know, I made a promise to God that I would share what he's done for me, could do for anybody. And I promised him that I would tell the story. I also said that the world would know. And my counterparts and the people that support me, and I told them that I'd be doing this interview, they were so happy for me. And they said, Lang, you've now fulfilled the promise. You know, there's something that I live by, man, and I like to end it. It's the first day of the rest of my life. I'm going to make it productive and memorable. I have just become the cause for my future rather than the effects of my past. And I have to own this.
I love that. Beautiful. Every day is a new start and we can just do better. And you are doing fantastic. Again, thank you so much. Before we sign off, where can our listeners connect with you and follow your incredible work?
My Facebook page is Lang Patrick Martinez. I don't have the other links. I can send those to you. So you can also Google Lang Martinez, Lang Martinez, And a lot of my stuff's on Google as far as what I do, the articles, the interviews that I've done in the past. You can all find there. You can also go to YouTube and look for like Martinez, and you can see recent interviews. Recently, I just did an interview with the Addiction Podcast with Joni Siegel. I'm also many interviews with NAASCA, National Association of Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. That's NAACSA.org. And you can look those up by Googling. There's quite a few articles. I've done Epic Times. I've been very fortunate to share my story in such a wide audience.
Fantastic. And we'll look that up and we'll put these links in the show notes as well. Thank you again for sharing your story with us today. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much. And it's such an honor that you reached out and that you put me on this show.
You are so welcome. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Matrix Green Pill podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Until next time, stay inspired and keep moving forward.
If you enjoy our conversations, please like and subscribe. See you next Wednesday.